friends, old and new. Welcome to Stupid Little Games, a podcast where we talk about all things gaming from the inside out. Each week, I sit down with a guest from various parts of the gaming industry, and we chat about our current gaming obsessions. We tell stories from the projects, past or present. You know, if we can talk about them, you know how that goes. And then we'll play a stupid little game that I've written specifically for each guest. I'm Jess, by the way. Thanks so much for coming back and listening. I really appreciate it. My guest today is a 20-plus year veteran of the video game art world. Most recently, he was a principal hard surface artist at Avalanche Studios, but before that, he did a ton of vehicle and terrain work for Jagex and a little indie studio that you may know called Rockstar Games. He's also the only person that actually brings his daughter to work on Bring Your Daughter to Work Day, which is so endearing and wonderful, and I love it so much. So please welcome the most quietly awesome dude I know. It's Scott Smalley.
Oh, thank you so much, Jess.
Welcome.
No, my daughter loved going to the office. She was so impressed. She was like, wow, a real New York City office with all, cool chairs and a kitchen with snacks and all the things a 10-year-old would love. Yeah.
Yeah, she was so nice having her there, and she would just kind of sit in the corner and just kind of relax, because she couldn't really come to the side where we had the non-Avalanche folks come over. So she would just kind of hang out, and I'm like, this is great.
Oh yeah, she loved it. She loved that donut chair that you got for the lounge. One of her favorites. She still talks about that.
Yeah, for all the listeners out there in our office, we had it was in our game room, because we're a video game studio, you need to have a game room. In our game room, we had these big pink chairs that looked like donuts, and they are deceptively heavy. They were so heavy. You'd think you could just kind of pick it up and move it around, but nope, like the whole bottom of it was wooden, and it was very expensive.
Oh, wow. Yeah. I was going to ask, where did you get that? But if it's very expensive, maybe never mind.
It was so expensive. I got it from Hem, which is a Swedish interior design thing. It's very nice, and it'll probably last until like 1,000 years from now. But it was fun. It was fun.
That's awesome. Maybe I can get the Temu version or wish.com or something.
That's a really good idea, because I kind of want one for my house too.
Yeah, this is really cool.
Well, to get started, I'd love to talk about our current obsessions. So, Scott, what are you playing right now?
Awesome. Okay, I got a couple things I'm playing. One of the games I'm playing, I'm actually replaying. So last week, Death Stranding shadow dropped on Xbox, which is like
I saw some people talking about that.
Yeah, and I'd already played on PC, and I really liked it, and so I thought this was a perfect excuse to kind of dive back into that world. And I actually really like it. I know it's kind of divisive, maybe, being a game that potentially doesn't get fun until 10 hours in, if it even ever does get fun, what you consider fun, and obviously it has the reputation of being like a walking simulator, like
but
Tim Rogers called it like the Gran Turismo of walking simulators, which is kind of a funny description.
That's a great way of putting it, actually. Yeah. So can you tell me, my partner and I played Death Stranding, and he really, really, really got into it a couple of years ago. Like, he super got into it. I thought it was very cool. Again, with the walking simulator sort of vibe of it, I wasn't super into it, but I did watch him play it. But I still have no idea what it was about.
Yeah, the story is a little crazy, convoluted.
I know that there's this baby, and there's these like not black slime, but like black ooze creatures that you have to fight every once in a while. But you kind of need to run from them for the longest time until you get some powers. And
the BTs and everything. Yeah, they are like purposely vague about everything at first, so it's really confusing and really hard to sort of understand why you're doing anything or what's happening. The second time through, it's a little easier. Although honestly, I'm like I do like all of that, but I kind of like it for the walking simulator. Like, I could honestly kind of take or leave some of the craziness,
because there is craziness. One of the main characters, his name is Deadman.
Yeah,
and then Conan O'Brien shows up out of the blue for
cameo.
No reason.
Yeah, all the names. Yeah, Sam Porter Bridges, Bridget Strand. Like, Die Hardman.
Kojima's he's gonna be naming.
Yeah. But the part I like most is kind of you can almost get into like a meditative state with some of the walking and the traversal, and then also they'll have this music that comes in kind of
the music is amazing in this game.
So good. Yeah, So I really love getting back into it. It's like so cool to experience that world again.
My partner really got into rebuilding all the roads.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like that was his main thing. And he was like, I know I'm supposed to be, going to all these different places, but he just wanted to rebuild the roads and make to where he could just walk.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly. You can actually drive the cars and the motorcycles, and do some of the harder deliveries if you've made the roads. But yeah, the roads take so much resources. It takes a lot of time.
Yeah, he grinded he grinded it a lot in that game.
He stranded it. He connected all the strands.
It was a beautiful game, though. I completely agree with you. And the music is. I think the music is one of the best parts of it, and because it does just come in and out. Yeah. It comes in and out, and I forgot that there's a band that did the songs for Death Stranding, and I don't remember the band's name, but I do remember when we were playing it, I was looking it up, and I think I have it on my phone somewhere because I downloaded some of it. But yeah, so I'm still playing Veilguard, the Dragon Age, and I'm probably about 3/4 of the way through it, and I kind of don't want it to end. So I can tell that I've played it a little less over the past few days because I don't want it to end, and I'm doing all of, it's a BioWare, so there's companion missions and there's tons of like side quests and things, but they're actually really fun. But I talked about it with Anya a little bit last week too, because the dialogue has gotten a lot of the writing has gotten a lot of flack. But there are parts of this game that I have bust out laughing just at the companions talking with each other. And there's this companion who's kind of a death mage. His name's Emmerich. And then there's another character whose name is Tosh. And they are Kunari, like Dragon Slayer, and their interactions with each other, if you bring them on missions together, because first they just did not get along at all, but now they're trying to find common ground because she thinks all the dead things are really gross and kind of scary, and he thinks dragons are really boring for some reason. How can dragons be boring? But I do love Emmerich. Right. But their interactions are just so wonderful, and that happens all throughout the game. Like no matter what two companions you bring with you, they talk to each other and have these amazing, sometimes they flirt because they're probably, if you're not romancing one of them, they might get together, and no spoilers, but like the companions will flirt together, and it's just so much fun. I mean, does it take itself super seriously? No, I don't think it's as serious as Inquisition was, or even Origins. But you're still saving the world. Does it have to be super serious?
Right.
I don't know.
That's cool. That reminds me a little bit the banter between NPCs. I don't know if you've ever played Guardians of the Galaxy.
I didn't. Didn't.
Oh, you didn't? Okay. So the characters are slightly different than the movie, but not, I mean, they're the same characters, but they're not like modeled off the actors that played them in the movie. But when you're doing stuff, yeah, they're always like kind of bantering and talking to each other, like in the way they're similar to the way they do in the movie, but just kind of even more of it, and sort of in places that are even more kind of mundane. They really punctuate a lot of the traversal and a lot of the things you do in the game with like. Part of the reason, to play is just to listen to them talk, because the writing and the voice acting is so good. The voice acting is great in Veilguard too, and I really appreciate that because somebody really cared about that. There's tons of players that may never hear the banter, but somebody still wrote it, they still voice acted it, and somebody really cared. And you being an artist for Veilguard, they have these they're not quite tarot cards, but they're all these cards that you they're not like collectibles, but if something else happens in the game, you'll be able to see like a new card. And the cards for each companion, they're gorgeous. They are absolutely gorgeous. So even if you don't play it, I think you being an artist should take a look at those. And it's wonderful. It's so good. That's awesome. Yeah, I need to check it out. And cool. And also the day that we are, I was going to say filming, but the day that we're recording here, a game that I don't play. I don't know if you do, but I wanted to talk about it. Oops, my phone fell. But a game that I don't play, I don't know if you play it, but the Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 came out today. That's right. Yeah, I did hear that. Are you a player of this game? I played 2020, the last edition, and it was pretty incredible. flying over like my old house, in the middle of nowhere, or like my college and a few other things, like places that even like Google Maps doesn't have any data on, polygonal data for these areas. They're so remote, and there were like actual like houses and stuff on the flight simulator game, and I was like just shocked.
How did they do
so
that?
fun? I don't know. I think there's like articles about how they pulled some of the map data and then have like procedurally populated it with buildings and a few other things. There still are some areas that are flat, but they do an amazing job of like somehow like populating like basically the entire world with geometry. It's crazy.
It's
So
wild.
I'm excited to actually play and see how it looks now. I would love playing on a controller. It's kind of it's less than ideal. It's okay, but it's I would love to get like a flight stick actually.
Yeah.
but
So I was gonna
I don't know
ask
if I could justify that. Yeah.
I feel like they have to be very expensive, right? Because that is some serious hardware. And I'm not against, like, if you have the money, wonderful, go for it. And if you play this game enough, then go for it. Like, feed your addiction. I love it. But having a piece of hardware like that number one takes up a lot of room.
Yes.
And is only for one specific game is hard for me to justify. But there are people out there that Microsoft's like playing. Flight Simulator is their favorite thing in the world. So I say do it. Like, if it's going to help you get so much more enjoyment out of something that you probably play for 800 to 1,000 hours of, then absolutely have at it.
Right. Yeah.
I bet they're really
Christmas is coming.
though.
Maybe put that on my list.
True. Microsoft knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
They knew it. Was there being a hard surface artist, was there anything that impressed you when you played the 2020 version? Because I'm guessing it's all just like on steroids now for the 2024.
Yeah. I mean, the planes are amazing. The interiors are incredibly detailed. And they're modeled after real planes, like licensed planes too. And so it's just crazy to see all the gauges and dials and everything that are working. It's like it's all plugged back into the sim, so I guess you could actually look at your altimeter or any other gauge and like have it's representing the real sim value. So the planes themselves are gorgeous. As a hard surface artist, I was definitely checking those out. It's very cool. Impressive stuff.
Well, I think that's the perfect time for us to take a quick break.
Great.
This episode is brought to you by, you guessed it, Chaotic Wholesome Presents. Are you a TTRPG fan? Then join Chaotic Wholesome for all of their wholesome chaos. Fall in love with your new favorite actual play, or tune in weekly for their Table Talk show. It comes out every Tuesday, where they cover all things TTRPGs, from indies to intersectionality. So you can catch them live at twitch.tv/chaoticwholesome, or check out their videos at youtube.com/chaoticwholesome. They're a great group of folks. I've talked about them on the podcast before. Kay Purcell was a guest before, and so you should check them out. They're really cool. They have a great, diverse space where they tell amazing stories, and putting them on in the background while you're doing something is like my favorite thing to do. So Table Talk Show comes out every Tuesday, and then they stream on Thursdays, Fridays. You can usually catch them. So subscribe and make a notification so you'll know when they are live. And let's get back to the show. And we are back. Thanks again to Chaotic Wholesome for sponsoring the show. So Scott, you are a hard surface artist. You've done all kinds of art, I'm guessing, in your tenured career in the games industry. But most recently, I've most known you as a hard surface artist. Can you maybe tell us, like, what does that entail to be a hard surface artist? For someone that's listening that's not in the industry, I call him Todd, our listener, Todd. So tell Todd, please tell Todd, like, what a hard surface artist is.
Awesome. Well, so at Avalanche, the last company I was at, hard surface artist basically meant vehicle and weapons artist, which is probably more accurate. That was really what I and the team I was on, we specialized in. There is some aspects of hard surface art, kind of what I call like space armor, like if you think like Gears of War or like Halo. where like it's more character based hard surface art. We didn't do that as much, but that's very much in the realm of like a hard surface artist could do that.
Is that like different from, so the things that you were doing was going more for realism, and then like the space armor and everything would be maybe more stylized?
Yeah, and a little more stylized and a little different approach possibly too. It's more like sculpting, ZBrush type stuff.
Gotcha.
Whereas
Okay.
a vehicle would be more surfacing and almost a CAD type approach, sort of, where things need to really make functional sense, mechanical sense. The vehicles have to like perform and work as,
I guess
as
the difference is like people know what cars look like. People know what guns look like. So you kind of need to make them so that people can recognize them. People don't really know what space armor looks like. So you can kind of be, I guess, a little more creative.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think there's more leeway for that. Because, with especially with weapons too, there's a lot of players that are very knowledgeable with weapons. Vehicles also, where if they see what they perceive as inaccuracies or problems with how a weapon might function or a vehicle might function, they love to point that stuff out. So we have to be very mindful of the functionality, because you're replicating. There is an artistic component to it, but you're also replicating. It is a functional thing in the game world. Like the gun has a reload, it has a rate of fire, it has all sorts of different things that you need to consider as well within the game. So yeah, it's a kind of a very technical and very detail oriented discipline.
Yeah. So I know that you've done both weapons and you've done cars. I mostly knew you for doing amazing cars. Like your cars are so cool, and I want to drive them, even though I live in Brooklyn and I don't drive. But your cars, I would love to drive. What do you like better? Do you like doing weapons? Do you like doing cars?
I do like cars better. I like weapons a lot too. It was really fun. But if I had to pick a specialization, yeah, it would be vehicles. Definitely. That's kind of how I started off too. Is one of my first gigs in the industry was as a vehicle modeler on the Midnight Club series. And the first one I worked on was Midnight Club 3, and that was on PlayStation 2. So it was a while ago.
And that was at Rockstar, right? They did the
that was at Rockstar San Diego. So they were previously known as Angel Studios, and I came on there right after they were bought by Rockstar and renamed Rockstar San Diego.
You worked on a bunch of the Midnight Clubs, right?
Yeah, I worked on 3 and 4, 4 being called Midnight Club Los Angeles. And that was the last of them. So I worked on the last 2. And those were amazing games to work on, amazing teams, just so much fun. Like we got to, this was before it was commonplace for licensed vehicles manufacturers to give you CAD files. And also we had, licensed vehicles that were before the advent of CAD, like the 70s muscle cars and things like that. So they're like nowadays, if you sign a contract with a licensed vehicle manufacturer, and you want a new car in the game, they'll probably give you the CAD file, and you can use it to make the vehicle from.
I didn't even think about that. So you don't have to do it from scratch.
Yeah, you don't have to do it from scratch. We pretty much were doing it from scratch back in the day. We would go with we would take digital cameras. We would go to dealerships a lot, actually. We would just kind of say, hey, we're from Rockstar. Do you mind if we take a bunch of pictures of this car? We have a license for a game. We're going to put it in. And they were like, fine, sure. Crawl all over the cars. We would take tons and tons of pictures of every part of the car all over, because we would basically have to go back and then, using the pictures and the measurements and all the details we got, recreate it for the game specifically, at the target poly counts and everything.
Wow.
For the game,
if the car manufacturer hasn't licensed the car for the game, did you need to change it enough so that it's like legally distinct? So you're like, this isn't a Chevrolet, it's a Devrolet.
Right. Yeah. So that's another aspect. And so if typically the game will either have licensed vehicles or it won't have licensed vehicles. And manufacturers are very particular about what you can do with vehicles. Like, for instance, a lot of manufacturers didn't want you to hit pedestrians. So you had a lot of some manufacturers wouldn't allow their cars to catch on fire for damage or things like that.
Okay. That makes sense from a business standpoint. Like if I owned Ford, I wouldn't want my Fiestas hitting people and that being on the internet forever and ever, because somebody's going to think it's real, even though it's, 2006 sort of fidelity in the video game, somebody's still going to be like, I don't want a Ford Fiesta because it hit my friend Charlie.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so it's usually just one or the other. So and then like in Just Cause games 3 and 4 that I worked on, so those were all unlicensed vehicles, and there are different approaches you can take. Some games will kind of try to be like, oh, this is supposed to be a BMW 3 Series or something, and they tweak it just enough so it's not. But that's what they want to like convey. Every car has sort of a real world analogy, but it's not quite
you have to get the essence of the car and then make it similar yet legally distinct.
Yeah, exactly. For Just Cause 4, we tried to do kind of a more high level, which is really hard, but really rewarding if you can do it right, is we basically tried to come up with our own version of car manufacturers. We had like a handful, probably 4 or 5 car manufacturers that we then made like style guides for, philosophies, brand statements. Like we were basically creating fictitious car brands. And then from there, we were creating fictitious models that fit those brands, as opposed to just being like a fake Volkswagen. This is supposed to be the car. There are similarities with real world cars. Obviously, we have inspirations, but it's supposed to be, the idea was, you see that car and you're like, oh, I recognize this car as an in-game brand. This is a Prisa or whatever, or this is a Mugello. And that's really hard, because that's hard enough to do for real cars. Real car manufacturers struggle to define design language and things that you can recognize real cars as without the badge on them. So it's certainly, we didn't have the resources to do it to the level of an actual car manufacturer. But that was our idea, to try to basically make the whole world more, okay, this is a fake version of the real world. No, this is the real game world, and these are the brands that exist within the game world, and these are the cars that exist.
Yeah, you get lost in it.
So yeah, it was really fun. It was super awesome. I worked with Thomas a lot on that, former art director Thomas Klingstrom. He was great at the kind of vision and bringing those worlds to life.
I need to get him on the podcast. Really cool. I need to call him.
Oh yeah, Thomas is great. He's
I'm going to send this to him. Hey, Thomas, come on the podcast.
Definitely.
I haven't talked to him in a couple of weeks. Cool. So if you are making weapons, do you kind of go into it with the same mindset of, I need this to look like, oh God, I don't know weapons names. I need this to look like this big fuck off gun. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to make it kind of, because weapons also have their manufacturers that are probably like, you can't put my gun in your game. I didn't give you license to do that. So is it the same sort of philosophy?
It's similar. Weapons, for whatever reason, maybe because a lot of the weapon designs are so old, and very simple, and there's less differentiation between a lot of weapons. A lot of games get really close to licensed weapons without licensing them. I'm not sure exactly why that is, but so it depends on the game. You can get closer, and you're not going to have like Ford or Chevrolet suing you the same way. But for like Just Cause, we did try to. So we had the paramilitary, the Black Hand, the bad guys in Just Cause. They had a weapon, and we had envisioned like they had a similar, they were basically weapons manufactured themselves. So all of their weapons looked similar, and then there was also like some of the more the energy-based weapons, and we decided those, and then agency weapons. So we tried to do a similar approach actually with that game to the vehicles, where we were trying to have these in-game brands that were consistent with each other, and not just that's supposed to be a AK-47, but not quite,
Also, so, I guess it's a little different, because you said like car manufacturers don't really want to see their cars hitting pedestrians and things. Yeah. Weapons manufacturers can't really say that, because all guns and things are made to shoot people. So it'd be like, please, I mean, you could have the gun in there, but don't have it actually shoot anyone. I don't think anybody's going to get up in arms about that.
Yeah, I don't think so either. So yeah, maybe that's part of what it is. Yeah.
Like they're not really going to get pissed because you're supposed to be shooting people with these guns.
Yeah, that's their intended purpose. Yeah. No, sorry, go ahead.
No. I was just going to ask, like, what is your favorite thing to create? I know you said that you kind of drift toward the cars, but if you could you're creating anything, like, what is your favorite thing to create?
Yeah, I definitely like the cars is clearly my favorite thing to create. I don't know why. Just
were you always into cars as a kid? Like I've
always been into cars. Yeah,
I remember going to school with folks, and I was always in like art classes and things. But they were always some folks that all they drew was cars when they were kids, and they were really good at it.
Yep, that was me. I was always drawing cars. I didn't know exactly like if I was going to be like. I'm lucky to be able to have like turned that into a career, honestly, because I didn't necessarily set out like to do that, but I always thought it would be cool if I was able to. And
did you go to art school?
Yes. So I went to just a state school in the middle of nowhere. But amazingly enough, they had an amazing computer art program. They had SGIs there with their custom operating system and everything. It was pretty wild.
What is an SGI?
Silicon Graphics. It's a workstation.
Oh, okay.
So yeah. I might be dating myself here.
No, we're about the same age, I think.
Ago, yeah.
So we just, I came from a very poor school system in Lancaster, South Carolina. So we definitely did not have any sort of SGIs. I remember learning like Visual Basic we had a computer lab, and I learned a little bit of Visual Basic, but they're mostly like, just learn typing. You're not going to need to know how to code. Just learn typing. And I was just like, okay. So thank you. But yeah, so you're learning on SGIs.
Yep. Yeah. So it was pretty crazy. It wasn't games focused because there wasn't really, I don't know if there was like that much of a pipeline. Like nowadays you can go and take specific games classes and sort of have the idea of, okay, this is going to get me enough knowledge to get into games. The classes I was taking was more animation focused typically.
Oh, cool. Okay.
And sort of like, it was kind of like Toy Story, everyone that ended up there was like, they saw Toy Story and were like, whoa, okay, that's kind of what that's what I want.
I mean, when I was a kid, I wanted to draw for Disney. Like I wanted to character design for Disney, and that didn't quite happen. But yeah, I think Disney was probably all of our inspirations at some point. I mean, people of a certain age, which I think Scott and I both are, our age, I think Disney was an inspiration at least once.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Pixar was like just amazing. They had all these shorts too before Toy Story, like obviously Luxo Jr., the light bulb or the lamp with the light bulb, like became their mascot, but he starred in a few like little shorts and they were all so like captivating. They're just like 10-minute shorts, but they told such a story and were so amusing and so amazing. Yeah. And it wasn't even like the technology was cool, but it was just what they were doing with it. The stories and the animation were so amazing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. We touched on that a bit in Hamish's episode, which was the very first episode, because he's a little bit older than us, I think, but he went to school for computer science because back then in like the 90s, you didn't go to school for actually going for games or learning games. There weren't games, like there wasn't the NYU Game Center, which is so wonderful here in New York back in those days. And you couldn't really specialize in anything. You just had to learn programming and then adapt it yourself.
Yep. Yeah, exactly. No, I mean, no one was talking about like polygon budgets or efficient UV unwrapping or a lot of the things that are like really nuts and boltsy about game development. I mean, I knew of that stuff. An avenue a lot of people were at least exploring was like modding. So like modding like Unreal Engine and Quake and things like that, where you could kind of try your hand at getting an asset into a game engine.
Polygon Budget sounds like a really good band name.
Right. There you go. The game dev band, yeah.
Yeah.
Polygon Budget.
This is Polygon Budget, and then all the actual game devs start cringing in the in the audience.
Yeah. Oh wow. Yeah. Yes. It was pretty wild. But it was cool. Like there's a lot of talented people I got to know. And a lot of people I went to school with ended up getting jobs in the industry. Like it was pretty crazy. So, I mean.
And this is what, early 2000s?
Yeah, it was. I graduated in 2002. So 98 to 2002 is when I was at school.
Oh, cool. Yeah, then we are the same age. Just about the same age. I graduated in 2000 and then graduated college in 2004. So, we're right around the same age. Yeah. You know. Yeah. What do you think is the hardest surface to create.
The ultimate hard surface. Wow.
Hey,
What
hard
is the
surface
hardest
artist. What's the
surface?
hardest
Yeah.
surface to art?
What is it? It's like a diamond? I don't know. What is it?
Honestly, so you joke, but I was trying to think of your stupid little game, and I was like, maybe I could ask him about like the hardest surfaces, and we
Yeah.
I didn't end up doing that, but I was like, maybe that's what I could do. But so the most difficult to render. What is the most difficult surface to render? Is it gold, and why is it gold?
Yeah. Well, I mean, obviously, so just vehicle art in general is pretty tricky because there's a lot of the surfaces aren't exactly what you think they are. I actually learned a lot from a guy I used to work with. He was in the automotive industry before he joined video games, and so he had sort of a formal training in this, and he gave me so many amazing tips. But like one of the things you realize is like even there's no such thing as a straight line on a car. Like there's even cars you think there's a straight line, like an old Jeep, or even less like the Cybertruck. There's a video out now with that. I know I hate to bring up Cybertruck, but, yeah.
I can't hear the word Cybertruck without snickering just a little bit. There's this amazing TikTok that I've been seeing going around of this woman just being like, you're having a really, really good day. Everything is going your way. And then you just see a fucking Cybertruck and it just ruins everything. It makes me so happy. Sorry, keep going. But
yeah, no, the Cybertruck. It's divisive. I don't mean to get into a critique of it here, but there's a YouTube video with James May from Top Gear, and he
saw that.
He holds like a straight edge to the car, and he's like, surface isn't flat. Yeah.
Because he put his wine on it. Because he was trying to hawk his wine or tequila or some sort of alcohol, his gin. Yeah. So he puts it on there and he was like, will it sit on here? It looks like, but then it starts sliding. He was like, nope, this isn't level.
Yeah. So that's something you have to remember. Like if you're not thinking about that, you visually, you look at the guy, you're like, this is a straight line, and you make it straight. And because you're using like polygons, you're using, you're trying to conserve that the roundness. So it's really easy. I'll just make this straight. It's straight. And a lot of times, so that'll make like a slightly, it'll make what's visually a straight line appear like slightly concave. It'll look like it's sagging kind of. Oh. It'll look wrong. And so a lot of games like do this, especially older games that are polygon constrained heavily. They'll
polygon
just
budgets.
use
one night only.
Not the bands, the actual amount of polygons you can use. But so they'll use what is in theory a good shortcut because they're trying to represent a straight line with a straight line, but it's not actually a straight line with the car, and so it ends up looking a little bit wrong. So yeah, like things like that are just you just kind of slowly learn. I'm sorry.
How do you fix that? Like how do you just make things slightly off so that they look more natural?
Well, you round them. You add geometry to the things that need it, and as long as you keep in mind that even if you think it's straight, it's not straight. You can look at the car like the real life car if you're recreating a real car. It's easier to actually recreate a real car because you can look at it. If you're doing, a unlicensed car that's wholly your creation, you have to be mindful of that from the start, from like the design, because otherwise those things will slip in and the car will look kind of weird. And you're like, I'm not sure really why. Like it looks like a fake car, but it's what's wrong with this car? And so unless you know to look for those weird things that are there, then that can kind of accidentally cause your unlicensed video game car to look just not right, like almost uncanny valley. Like like I know this isn't a real car, but I don't know why.
That's what I was going to ask. Like I'm guessing the player who doesn't know as much about actually like making the cars for the games probably wouldn't be able to tell you exactly what's wrong with it. But do you think they would be able to just see that just something is off?
Yes. I think people can see and be like, oh yeah, it's a fake car. And like, obviously it's just a video game car. There's something is wrong, and they wouldn't know why, but they would know that it's like, this isn't a car that exists in real life. Whereas you can create, an unlicensed car that's that I feel has the same, fidelity as a real
Honestly,
car.
If I saw, if I'd never seen a Cybertruck before, say that I was in a coma for the past like 5 years and I come out and I'm playing a video game and I see a Cybertruck, I would think that it's not real. I would be like, oh, there's something wrong with that. There's no way anyone would actually make that.
Yeah.
Sorry to the Cybertruck owners out there that are listening. Very, very sorry, but you know. They know.
Yeah, exactly. This Cybertruck is that's yeah, it's unique.
So you did some terrain work as well, right?
I did. Yeah.
You've worked on Red Dead. Was it Red Dead that you did terrain work?
So I worked on Red Dead Redemption, and I did do terrain work because there's no automobiles really. I mean, there was like
there's some horses.
There's horses. There's carriages. I think the FBI agents drive an old automobile. And there's a few other, but essentially there's trains.
I didn't even think about that because I was prepping for this and I was like, why is Scott doing terrain for Red Dead Redemption? I didn't even think that. Duh, it's the 19th century. They don't fucking have cars. No shit, you're not going to be doing Chevrolets and like Maseratis for this game. They have fucking horses. Duh, Jess, you idiot.
Yeah. I know that was kind of unusual for me to work on that, but it was really cool. Amazing game, obviously. And I came onto that project a little late after Nightclub Los Angeles was done. So, they were ramping up on RDR. So yeah.
What kind of stuff did you make for terrain, and like how did you? Because going from making cars to making bushes seems a little bit of a jump for me. How did you prepare for that? Did you like it? I bet you learned a lot at least.
It was very unique. Yeah. So a lot of us we had like a team of vehicle artists that did get shifted onto the project doing non-vehicle things. So we had to kind of learn. How to adapt our skills to suit that project.
The only time you can say "nice bush" to a colleague and not get sent to HR.
There you go. Right?
Sorry, I shouldn't have made that.
No, it's fine.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, there's lots of off-color jokes you can make about that, but yeah, so I mean, there was like paths and roads and horse paths and a lot of things that you had to do to maintain the terrain and sort of make it work for all the gameplay. I know like you said, like bushes and rocks and stuff like that.
Well, rocks are hard surfaces.
Yeah,
kind of.
You'd get a lot of maintenance work too, where you would encounter like problematic rocks or trees that for a mission would.
There's another band, Problematic Rocks. Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's all good. That's oh man, it's so funny. Yeah, I mean, it was a really unique experience. It was interesting, but yeah, it's kind of an anomaly in terms of. What I usually work on, in my career, I haven't done too much of that since.
Well, there are also, you say problematic rocks and things. How do you fix that? So, because I mean, folks that are listening, a lot of folks are game devs, and you know that there may be something that you put in the game that you think is just sitting over to the side, but it broke the build.
Yep. Yeah.
This has now broken the build, and you have no idea why the build is broken. And it's like, oh, there was like way too much gray on this rock. How do you test for that?
Yeah, so
have a good QA team, I guess.
Yeah, QA, and we did tons of playthroughs in the game. And so during the playthrough, you would get a bug back potentially like, oh, this rock, the player's getting stuck on this rock and it's impeding progress for this mission or whatever. It was a kind of frequent thing. And so you had a few options, like they might recommend just kill the rock, delete it, just
too much collision on this rock.
Yeah, exactly.
It is
or
problematic
just a collision.
Rock.
Yeah.
Get rid of it.
Yeah. I mean, they had different collision layers for, on foot movement and horse movement and other things too. So there were things you could try to do to alleviate, the problematic rocks and other things. So yeah, it was tons of iteration and tons of bug fixing and polish basically. It was a lot of iterative work.
How close did you work with the actual programmers that put the creations into the game? Or were you one of those folks that could actually make the creation and put it into the build yourself?
I mean, almost every game, the artist is expected to submit directly to the build.
Gotcha.
I know that some, some companies can get so specialized that you might be just a texture artist potentially or something, and you never are dealing directly with the game engine. You're just creating essentially, assets that then get appropriately sized or reduced or, packed into textures or whatever and sent off into the game engine. I've never been on a team that was that specialized to where the art I was working on wasn't, I wasn't responsible for its functionality in the game as well. So
cool.
Yeah, especially like the Just Cause games. It was highly technical. Like the art was really only one half probably of the vehicles. Like the rest was set up like hierarchy, rigging, all sorts of just tons and tons of setup to make it to behave the way it was supposed to. So that would also fall on the artist in my case and in our case. But it's possible that you could have like maybe a dedicated tech artist or someone that handles the harder setup of things. But
it feels like nowadays on teams, and I've talked about this a bit before, that the things that one person used to do are now really specialized. Like you were saying, like there are so many specializations, and teams have gotten so big. And I think now we're kind of seeing some of the blowback from that, because people are like, oh, now this team is way too big. And then you have like the layoffs and then someone who may have only been doing one thing now has to do 4 things.
Yeah.
Yeah. We know nothing about that.
No.
We know nothing about that. But yeah, it's interesting. Do you think it's going to go back to one of those, to like the days where someone is doing 4 or 5 different things? Maybe. Do you think it'd be better?
Maybe. So, I mean, a lot of indie game dev is like that, where
that's true. That's true. I guess I'm
teams,
thinking like with a AAA mindset right here, but yeah, there are folks that
like
make their own games just with one person.
Yeah. No, it's like the team I was at Jagex, we worked on some smaller games. At first, we did like a racing game that was supposed to be like a browser based, like a Facebook type game, and it was only a handful of people that worked on that, but it was nice. It eventually came out on iOS too, and even there was a Steam release. But the point was, it was kind of a simple, smaller game with a smaller team, and I got to do a lot of stuff. I got to like work on the vehicles, and I got to do a lot of 2D art, some UI art, even like worked on the app icon, and like a bunch of things that ordinarily like I would never,
Yeah.
there would be I wouldn't be anywhere near. But so it was a lot of fun. It was really cool to do that. And there's definitely still opportunities to do that on smaller and sort of indie teams, which is really exciting. I can see why a lot of people, like, if you're a real like super creative, you're just excited about working on everything, like you can thrive in that kind of environment. If you're not, it can be overwhelming too.
Yeah. Some
people like to just, stay in the lane. And I get that too. Like sometimes you just want, the other things you don't enjoy and you don't want to do them. You want to do what you think you're good at and just do that. So,
just switching gears just slightly, because I was just thinking about it. How long does it take you to create an entire car?
Oh, wow. Yeah. Well, it depends on the game and the requirements for it, but I'm
sure that your executive producer's sitting there like, I need this in 4 hours.
Yeah. So, yeah.
And you're like, okay,
yeah,
sure.
It's pretty long is the long and short of it. It's pretty long. So back in the day for like the nightclub games, we would do all the vehicles in-house, and it was pretty awesome. We had a pretty robust team. But sort of in the Just Cause games, we had smaller teams, so we relied on outsourcing a lot. But we had, we would keep track of how long the outsourcers would take, and we had estimates and this and that. But I mean, it could be, 30 to 50 days or so, like a long time of just outsourcing. And that's after we had done all of the work, concepting and gray boxing and all the sort of work that you need to do before you hand it off to an outsourcer. So it can be pretty hard. The process can be pretty involved. But if you're running at scale with an outsourcer, they might be able to put like 10 people on it, and then they're just plowing through content. So it's a long time, but there's ways you can kind of try to set it up so it doesn't bog anything down. But yeah.
Wow. So like 2 months or so.
Yeah,
1.5
it could
to 2
be.
months.
Yeah.
That's
Depends.
cool.
Like it totally depends too on if you need things like how detailed the interior needs to be. Like that is, if it doesn't need to be that detailed, you can get away with, a much simplified version. But if it has to be like the camera's in the interior, you see the interior, the exterior of the car, everything needs to look and work good. The interior is practically a whole nother car. If it needs to be the same fidelity.
It's completely different environment. And like you were saying, for the weapons, players know a lot about cars. And so if you get it wrong,
yeah,
they're going to be
most players have sat in a car before.
Yeah.
So if they sit in a car that you made and it doesn't look anything like a car,
that 1978 Chevelle did not have ox blood interior ever.
Yeah.
So how dare you now 1 star?
That's funny,
1 star the whole game.
And another thing too is you have to worry about is if you're doing a game that's set in a certain era, you have to worry about like anachronisms and stuff. Like obviously you can't have a CD player in there. If CDs haven't been invented yet, or even like types of tires and types of safety features, seatbelts. Like there's a bunch of things that have evolved. We don't even think about necessarily now, or that like if you see an old car now, it could be retrofitted with that modern stuff. So if you're looking up, images, you see an old car, but maybe there's new wheels on it, and you don't realize those are new wheels or a type of tire that didn't exist, and you use that, as a reference, then you can accidentally introduce like an anachronism, which is gotta.
Game dev is hard.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does anything ever get shipped, Scott?
It's a small miracle that any game ever comes out, honestly.
How does anything ever get shipped? So I would love to know if you have any advice for aspiring game dev, hard surface artists out there, or just regular game dev artists out there. Like if you, in this day and age, in the year of our Lord 2024, do you have any words of advice?
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, it's hard right now.
I know, right? Yeah, I would say just keep practicing, do the kind of things you like, knowing that you might have to, move to a more generalist approach potentially, but definitely, try to do what you like and try to do what you like to specialize in. And also, game dev is so iterative. Like it doesn't have to be perfect. Like get whatever you're working on good, and then, move on to something else. You can come back if you really want to, but don't spend like forever trying to like get something like absolutely perfect, because it's so time inefficient. It's, like you can get it probably 85% of the way there, and then spend another 100% trying to get the extra 100% of time trying to get the last 15% of quality, maybe more. So, I think especially if you're starting out, that perfection is kind of your enemy. If you can stand to, move on, because most artists want, their creation to be perfect.
Yeah, isn't the old adage like perfect is the enemy of good?
Yes,
or something?
exactly.
But it's more like perfect is the enemy of shipped.
Yeah, exactly. In a game, you will never be 100% happy with anything you ship. Like it's just never. You're always going to have to stop working on it before you want to. So prioritize what you need to do to make it good, and then try your best to work efficiently to do that. I mean, other than that, like just basically just do it. Like there's so many free tools and engines out there. Now it's crazy. You can get Blender, you can get Unreal or Unity or whatever, and you can go ahead and basically try it out. Watch a YouTube tutorial and try it out. Like this was all like, magic when we were young. Like you could, like, aside from modding, like, like Quake or something like that, it just wasn't like a commercial engine you could just use like off the shelf for free and download it on the internet.
And then a million YouTube videos showing you exactly how to use it. And make these amazing things. Could you imagine when you started doing computer art that you could just have ray tracing for nothing?
Right? Yeah. Hardware-based ray tracing. Yeah, everything has come so far. It's so wild. Yeah. That's another crazy thing about games too, is like if you're, a writer or filmmaker, like the medium hasn't changed necessarily, but in games, the target is always moving. So it's fun in that sense because there's always something new to learn and to do. But it's bad in the sense there's always something new to learn and to do.
Yeah. And then there's some game that comes out that is a surprise hit. And then you have the meetings the next week.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Where everybody's like, so this game did very well.
Yeah.
Look at this thing that they did that we want to now steal that mechanic and somehow figure out how to do it, even though we are way past pre-production.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, exactly. That happens a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's like Zelda, they have this weapon durability system.
Yeah.
Like, it's like it's just something like that.
They also
that
had
comes in
800
and you're like,
devs
oh, no.
and 8 years or something like that to work on that.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What software do you use right now? And I know that we were talking in like the pre-show just a bit about like some stuff that you want to learn. So
Yeah.
what are some things that you want to play with, and what are you using? What do you use in your everyday life?
Yeah. I mean, so basically, for most of my career using game engines, they've been proprietary to the company. So
Right.
I did use Unity though on one of them, which is pretty cool. And I have used Unreal a little bit, but I need to dig into Unreal because a lot of companies are using that, and it's very user friendly, especially from an artist standpoint. So I need to learn that a little bit more. Blender too, same thing. Or I need to get a little more proficient in that, just because it's free, it's powerful, and it's something I need to just keep up on, because I've used Maya basically my whole career, aside from a brief stint using 3ds Studio Max. But I'm so used to Maya. But in theory, they're all just tools, right? They're you just need to learn them, but all the concepts underlying concepts beneath them still apply. So you can as long as you understand the tool, you can use the tool to make art. But
Maya integrates so well with other things, right? Like Maya integrates really well with like Motion Builder, right?
Yeah, Maya's pretty good for animation and rigging and Motion Builder, and I think it's really good for surfacing for vehicles. I really like it for that. But there are other, like Max is actually pretty good for fast polygonal modeling.
It's another band.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So there's pros and cons to all of them, and everyone has kind of their personal favorite. But the truth is, you can do anything with any of them.
Cool. Well, Scott, do you want to play a stupid little game?
Sure, I'd love to. Sounds great.
Okay, so your stupid little game. So you're a hard surface artist, and I asked you like some of your hobbies, and you do photography. You do, of course, we all like play video games, all very visual mediums. And so I was racking my brain. I was like, what am I going to do that is an audio centric game for Scott? So I came up with something real stupid. I actually asked some folks on Blue Sky, and I got some really good ideas that I've molded a little bit into some other things. So I have a stupid little game for you that's called Not So Heavy Metal.
Perfect.
and so basically, I think this is the stupidest of all the stupid little games that I have made so far, and I'm actually quite excited about it. So I'm basically going to manipulate a metal object. And some of them I'll kind of drop, some of them I'll like roll on the table. Some I'll use as the metal object is intended to be used, and I want to see if you can tell me what the object is.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I told you it was
Should
stupid.
be interesting. Okay. All right.
I told you it was stupid, and I'm very excited. I have a bowl full of things.
Okay.
And I can give you little hints because this is along with being incredibly stupid, I think that this is probably kind of a hard game. But if you could tell me what the thing is, and then you'll get extra points if you could tell me what type of metal it is.
Wow.
That would be extra super hard.
Wow. That would be very hard.
Did you have to do like metal research in your art career of like the different metals? Like this is, I mean, I'm sure that the audio designers did more of like, this is what this will sound like when it crashes into a tree.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, thankfully, there are like PBR guidelines for most of the metals that have measured roughness and, albedo values. So when you're starting with a metal,
values. What is PBR? Other than
physically
Pabst Blue
based
Ribbon?
rendering.
Physically based
I mean, that's usually what PBR is for me, but yeah, sorry, yeah. PBR is, physically based rendering. It's basically what all modern game engines use. It's like a conservation of energy thing. It's basically to ensure that every asset you create works well with standardized lighting. So you could, in theory, take a game asset from one engine to another or to an offline render or to anywhere, and it should all behave physically correct. That is with, the math for the lighting works with the math for the material, and it all looks correct. Like
that sounds so complicated.
Yeah, it's weird. It was kind of complicated at first, but it makes a lot of sense, and it's actually awesome because, you don't have to worry about really bizarre like hacks that games would do before to get things to look okay. In theory, now they should look right if you offer them correctly. So like their metal values, those were things that we could use that like every substance and stuff has, presets and stuff like that we could start from before we were authoring. But
how much math is involved in hard surface art?
Yeah,
that sounds really math heavy.
It's I mean, most of it is behind the scenes. Okay. Like most of it is obscured from maybe graphics programmers can look at it and things like that. But as artists, all you need to do is make sure that your values are correct for the type of material you're trying to represent, especially metals. It's basically everything is divided into like either a metal or a non-metal, and so those are.
See, I always joke that this is an educational podcast, but sometimes there are things that I'm like, oh, that's cool. That's really cool. PBR is not just Pabst Blue Ribbon.
Exactly.
Maybe that's
not just a blue ribbon winning beer. Yeah.
Maybe that's going to be the title of the episode. Who knows?
That's not bad. Right?
Okay, so we'll start small. So again, I have some metal objects here, and I'm going to manipulate them. And we're on a Zoom call, but you can only really see my face, so you can't actually see my.
I wouldn't cheat you anyway. So I would never dream of.
Yeah, because if you cheat, then you won't win the game. Okay, so I'm basically going to drop them on my desk here. Let me know if you can hear them. I know this mic is it's a corduloid mic that has like the heart shape that it picks up, so it should pick this up. So let me know if you can't hear it, and I'll put it closer. Okay.
Okay, I could hear it, but not very well.
Let me get it closer. I'll just I'll come down a little bit. Okay, there we go. I'll just get closer to. I'm hunched over like a shrimp. Here we go.
Okay.
It was two objects. It was two of them.
It was two.
Yep.
Something fairly small. I don't know. Do you have a hint that won't give it away?
I should have written hints for these. So basically, you use these if you get anything from IKEA.
Oh wow, Allen wrench.
Close.
Okay.
It's little screws.
Okay, all right. Oh, nice. Yeah, there you go.
Screws, and I told you this was stupid.
Yeah.
Here's what. Let me grab this. I have a whole bowl full of things. Okay. See if you can. Can you hear that?
Yeah. That sounds like scissors, kind of.
Yeah, scissors.
Okay, all right. Nice. There we go.
These are my nice scissors with little tassels on them. Okay, here's another thing that I'm going to drop. This is a bunch of them. And I'm going to go ahead and give you the hint. So you may have used these before because you have long hair, but I know that you also have daughters. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure that you probably have these around your house. Can you hear that?
Wow.
There's like 10 of them. Maybe not quite 10. So let's get closer.
10 of them. Wow.
It's so stupid.
That's great. I mean, I have no idea other than the hint.
Take it.
I mean, I don't know. I guess some sort of hair clip or something.
It's bobby pins.
Oh, okay. Cool. Yeah.
Little bobby
Gotcha.
pins.
Ah, yes, yes. Nice. I don't usually use those, but maybe my barber does when he cuts my hair.
Nice. Okay.
Those big clips you put up.
What else we got? Oh, okay. So these are made of metal. The hint is they're not usually made of metal. But these are very heavy, but they're small. But if you went to Gen Con or something like that, you would definitely see a lot of these. So I have 2 of them here. I'm gonna roll one and then the other. So I'm gonna roll them.
Oh wow. Okay, that seems a little heavier than the others.
Yeah, I'm gonna roll it again.
Okay.
It's probably a big bong.
Wow.
Since they're metal, they don't roll quite as well as some of the non-metal ones.
Wow. So it's like a 20-sided dice or something?
Yeah, it is.
Hey, all right.
Good job. Yeah, these are 2 of my metal dice.
Nice.
I had a fun time yesterday actually going through all of my dice and finding, because I'm a dice goblin, so I have a huge, it looks like I don't know, it's called like a peasant pouch or something. It's like a big round pouch that is supposed to hold up to like 2,000 dice, and it's almost full. And those are just the ones that I'm a dice goblin.
I was going to say, that's a lot of dice, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So here is, this is so stupid. I love it so much. Okay. So here is, I'm rolling this one.
Wow.
Yeah, just rolling. I didn't want to drop it because this one's actually big.
Okay.
Whoop. Hit my keyboard.
I'm going to need a hint probably.
You probably have lots of these in your cabinets.
Oh.
It's cylindrical.
Wow.
Which is why it's rolling so well and you can't really hear the metal of it. Here's the... I feel like I'm fucking ASMR here, which I've never really done before, but here's my nails on it. It's like...
My cabinet. It isn't like a metal tumbler or some sort of glass.
Very close.
Yeah.
Is a tin can.
Oh, okay. Nice. Okay.
Specifically. Specifically full of corn. I don't think that
that does affect the sound, so
Yeah, there's stuff in it. I should have gotten like an empty one.
Yeah, that might have helped.
Okay, here's this one is fun. I'm gonna throw this one onto my desk and see if the thing will pick. This is very light. It's very, very light. Also something that you would find in the kitchen.
Huh. Okay. Very light. Also something you would find in the kitchen.
So this is crumpled up because if I had actually pulled the thing out and tore it off, you would have known right away what it was.
Aluminum foil.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. There we go.
Aluminum foil here.
And it is aluminum. Yeah, we know the metal of that one.
Yep. So for the tin can, I actually had to look it up because I always thought they were like aluminum cans, but they're not. They're actually tin cans. So,
really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's see. I have 2 more for you.
All right.
I told you this game was stupid. But you're doing great so far. You're doing wonderfully.
Not too bad. Okay. Yeah.
You're doing wonderfully. Okay. So this is the last one that you can find in the kitchen.
Okay.
I'm going to drop it on my table.
Wow. That sounded like a spoon to me.
It is.
Yes.
It's one of my big spoons.
Nice.
See, this isn't as hard as I thought. I feared it was going to be.
It's challenging but fair.
Okay. Have you ever had to render anything that's in this? I've manipulated so far. Have you ever had to do like tin cans or like silverware or stuff like that? Like I couldn't imagine how hard it would be to do a ball of aluminum foil.
Yeah. So I have used aluminum foil as kind of a reference for damage for like the way a car sheet metal might bend. Like you can kind of simulate that on a small scale a little bit using like very small bends or like kind of a thick aluminum foil and a slight crumple. It will crumple a little bit like stamped steel. So I've used that kind of like as a reference to understand how it might work. But probably none of those things directly. But yeah.
Is there any other like proxies for things that you do, like little tricks like that?
Oh, geez. I mean, probably that one. That one was the first one that leapt to mind, and it was a long time ago. That was for one of the smaller games I was making, where an approach like that would make sense for like a really simple game.
Yeah, because there's the amount of the polygon budget for an aluminum foil ball has to be out of this world. But it's cool. But it's got a bunch of different colors. This would be so hard. I'm just looking at it right now. So if anyone out there has ever made an aluminum foil in your games, please let me know like how hard it was, because it seems like it would be tough, very, very tough. Okay, so this is the last one.
Okay.
That I have, and this one's very small, but they're usually not small. So I'm gonna, let's see if I can, hold on.
Oh, wow. I mean, yeah, it's like a bell-like quality to it.
Yeah. It's not quite a bell, but it's close.
Jeez, it's not quite a bell, but close. Like a thimble or?
Close. It is actually a mini singing bowl.
Oh, okay. Nice.
Isn't it small?
That's cool. So is that brass?
I think so.
Okay.
I think it is brass.
I got partial credit for brass, then.
Yeah. I got this at a little metaphysical store, I think in like outside of Charlotte, North Carolina. And I was like, it's so small. So I bought it for my partner because he's
cool.
Super into meditation.
It's got a nice tone. Yeah.
It does,
cool.
right? It's like, I'm not nearly as good as like at actually making it sing, because it has this tiny little, it's not a wand. I don't know what you actually call the little stick that comes with it, but it's
That's awesome.
You actually did great at this.
Hey, all right.
Much better than I thought that anyone could ever do at this stupid game. So congratulations, awesome. You won the game.
You. I won. I feel so proud.
You absolutely won. It's amazing. So I think that was like 8 different things.
Awesome.
What do you think out of all of that stuff, other than the aluminum ball, would be the hardest to render? So we had like a spoon, a tin can, the little singing bowl. We had some scissors. I think the bobby pins might be.
Yeah, the scissors, just in terms of complexity of shape, it's probably the most. But I mean the aluminum is kind of weird too. The bowl's easy, that's got like radial symmetry. There's a few. The dice probably not too bad either. Most of them aren't too bad. The scissors might be the hardest one.
Yeah, they do have a lot of shapes, and these specifically have tassels on them. So
there you go. Right. And you need like the physics simulation for that. Yeah. Good.
That's funny. Congratulations, you won the game.
Thank you. Thanks.
The not so heavy metal game. Some of them were heavy. I think the dice, honestly, out of everything other than the can full of corn, those dice are really, really, I don't know what they're made out of. One of them, what are they? One of them is an official, I think, D&D metal dice that I got at PAX U last year. And one of them, like this one, I think might be copper.
Okay.
One of them is like black metal.
Hopefully not lead, right?
Hopefully not. I mean, I don't really chew on them as much as I would really like to sometimes. But yeah, these are deceptively heavy dice. They are deceptively heavy. But
copper one looks cool. I like it.
I have a whole set of the copper ones. I don't have a whole set. I think this might be iron. I don't have a whole set of the black ones, but I do have a whole set of the copper. But yay, thank you so much.
No, thank you. That's awesome.
The
The games are awesome. Yeah, no, I that's my favorite segment of your podcast.
Oh, thank you. I hope that I didn't disappoint with not so heavy metal. I think you did a really good job.
No, it's awesome. This is great.
But yeah, I was just like, okay, he's an artist. This is an audio medium. What am I going to do?
Yeah, it's a little tough. I know, right?
No, it's fun though. So my dream job actually would just be making stupid games. I was part of the Stack Overflow podcast, And one of the things that I did for them is I made little games, stupid games for the host to play every week. And it was my favorite part of doing the podcast. So when I was putting together this podcast, I was like, I want to make a game for everyone.
Yeah.
And then I didn't realize that like, oh, this means I need to make a game for everyone.
It's true. Yeah. It is a lot of work, but I think it pays off. Like when I was listening to the last one, like all of a sudden, I went from like, okay, I'm listening to a podcast while I'm taking a walk. It's fun. And then the game came on and I was like, I'm like actively listening. I'm like playing. I'm like trying to guess. It was so engaging. It was fun.
Yeah, honestly with Jason's it was kind of easy because he's a sound designer because I could just be like, what is this sound? I couldn't believe that he didn't know what toasty was.
I know. I was like Mortal Kombat. I know that one. Yeah. It is weird though. Like it's one of those like, you know it or you don't. You're probably not going to be able to like guess your way to it, Yeah,
like, and I also felt bad for him because they're all out of context. So when you're hearing something completely out of context, even though you may have played the game a million times when you were a teenager or in your 20s, you're like, it could be a million different things. And if you're like me, even though you know exactly what it is, you can't say it. It'll be on the tip of my tongue and I'll just be like, I know this. And then I will hate myself.
Yeah, you're on the, like, it's easy as a listener. You're like, I would have got that. But when you're there on the podcast, like the pressure's on. Yeah. And yeah, it was super cool. Yeah, I liked it a lot. I got a few of them, but some of them I was shocked. Like the Final Fantasy one, I heard it and I was like, that sounds like F-Zero for some reason. And then you're like Final Fantasy. I was like, oh, geez. How many times have I heard that and I didn't get it right?
Oh, wait. Wow. Okay, so I have one more thing that I want to drop for you. Hold on.
Okay.
Okay. This is not metal.
Oh, no. Okay.
I think that this is something that you'd be able to figure out. This is a bonus round of not so heavy metal because it's not metal, it's plastic. But I'm not going to drop it, but I'm going to set it down. And I bet you're going to know what this is.
Oh, okay. Is that an Xbox controller?
It is.
Yeah.
That's wonderful.
Yes, I can recognize that sound. Yeah.
I knew you would. I thought I was done with the game, and then I looked over and I saw like my pile of Xbox controllers, and I was like, you know what? Hold on. Yep. This is my my iridescent purple and blue one. I love this one.
That's a cool one. I like that one too.
A story. I think it was you. So I posted when we worked together. I posted a photo of my cat or something in one of our like Slack channels, and one of my Xbox controllers was kind of in the background slightly, and you could hardly even see it. And you were like, is that the special Forza Horizon?
Yeah. I know, right?
Xbox controller.
I wanted to buy that one and I didn't, and I saw it. I was like, oh, it looks so cool.
It does look cool. It's all like it's all like pink and yellow, and I'm not even a huge Forza fan, honestly. Like, do you play a lot of?
Oh yeah, I like Forza Horizon a lot. Yeah, that series is really good. I was playing it earlier today. I was playing 5 today.
Do you? So, what are your favorite racing games?
Oh, geez. I mean, the Forza Horizon series is great for open world. So good. Yeah, I mean, I've played so many of them. Geez, back in like, I love like the old school Sega arcade racers. Anything Sega arcade racing, I love, like Outrun, Daytona, Super GT, Sega Rally. Like,
Super GT. I haven't thought about that in a million years.
Oh, I know. I absolutely love all those games. Those really like formed my love of racing games, growing up, going to the arcades and stuff. And yeah, now the modern games too are good. I played, Gran Turismo. Everyone's played those series of games. And yeah, the Forza Horizon games. I played the mainline Forza is good. It's really good too. But I think the Horizon strikes such a good balance of arcadey open world racing with real vehicles. Like it's I feel like I used to work on the Midnight Club games, and that was kind of what we did too, although on a little smaller scale. But I feel like that kind of genre is faded a lot. So I'm glad that Forza Horizon is still keeping it alive.
What's your car of choice in Forza Horizon?
Oh, I like to I like to drive old cars that I had and old cars that I wish I had. So I actually like driving slower, like what would have been a cool car for a normal person to drive, slower cars that I've always liked, as opposed to like the exotics and the faster cars. So yeah, it allows me to relive some of my old cars that I had to sell for, reasons.
Yeah, life happens.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh yeah, because you lived in California, right?
Yeah.
So did you have actually your own fleet of cars?
Yeah, I always had a couple of cars at once, and they were never nice cars. The nicest car I think I had was a Honda S2000 because that was in San Diego. It was a roadster. It was perfect. I figured if I was ever going to buy one, I should buy it then. But then I had like a 1991 Civic wagon with it, like a car that's it wouldn't be considered an enthusiast car exactly, but maybe a certain type of enthusiast car. But yeah, I had a bunch of cars I thought were cool, but probably aren't universally loved as cool cars.
Did you soup them up at all? Were you one of those folks that had the rims and the aftermarket spoiler sort of things?
For working on games that have car customization and being in car culture, I am surprisingly adamant about keeping cars really close to stock. I don't know why.
Keep it pristine.
Exactly. Well, I just like the experience the manufacturer intended. I don't know why. I know it sounds crazy, but I really like just keeping them as stock as possible.
You're like a jalopy purist.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, yeah.
Not that they were jalopies. I had jalopies. So my first car was 1996 Honda Civic.
Nice. Yeah.
And it was a great little car, and I got into a terrible wreck in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which is not where I'm from. I was down there on vacation, and then I got what did I have after that? Pontiac Sunfire.
Oh yeah, those were everywhere.
Those were real.
Cadillac and Sunfire were everywhere. That's so funny. The cars that were super common back then, they've all disappeared. Now, if you saw a Sunfire, it'd be like,
oh wow, Sunfire, yeah,
double tag. You're but they used to be.
That was a great little car.
Yeah, those are cool cars.
It was wonderful. And I didn't do anything aftermarket to it, mainly because I didn't have the money to do that because it's really expensive. Doing that sort of stuff is so expensive. I need to pay for the actual car and insurance. And that's one of the great things about living in New York. I don't have to have a car or insurance. I just, subway everywhere. But having a car, you can just leave for a while, and that's nice. But yeah, sorry, I got off of this tangent because you mentioned racing games, and I was like, oh, I bet you're super into it.
Yeah, no, I am. The Forza games are awesome. Yeah, they just have so many cars that I like to drive, and it's just so much fun. You can also just drive around, you don't necessarily have to race if you don't want to. Too, it's very, I don't know, it's very cool. I like the game.
I like the racing games. They're a bit more whimsical. So the more realistic the racing game is, the kind of more uncanny valley sort of headachy it makes me.
Gotcha, yeah.
Because what is it like? Gran Turismo is it Gran Turismo that's just so
that's
realistic?
about as hardcore as you can get on the console. In the PC space, you can go even harder core, but on console, that's considered kind of a simulation.
It was too real. And I was just like, I can't, this is making me dizzy.
You didn't like having to take license tests before you can drive.
It was very cool, but I like the ones that's more top down, third person view of this car, and maybe you're in a bus and maybe you're jumping over things. Give me those whimsical sort of racing games.
Yeah.
What is it, the Simpsons?
Oh yeah. Yeah. No, they're
Simpsons
fun.
Hit and Run.
Yeah. No, I like those games too, the more arcadey ones for sure. So much fun.
Well, Scott, we have made it to the end of the podcast.
Awesome.
I really appreciate you coming on. I appreciate you playing my stupid little game and move these back over here out of the way of the not so heavy metal. Where can we find you if you want people to find you?
That's awesome. I'm on LinkedIn. You could check me out there. I'm not super big on social media, but maybe I should try. Maybe I should give that Blue Sky social a try.
Come over to Blue Sky. I'm telling you, the game dev community there. So if you're on Twitter and you say, I like Baldur's Gate 3, which I did. But if you could say any game, I like Balatro. I like if you could say anything, and then somebody's going to come along and be like, "This game is stupid. I hated this. You're a bad person for liking it." Blah 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 blah.
You kill
then,
yourself. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then of late, it's more like that game is so woke. I can't believe you're playing this, you liberal like slur or whatever. It's gotten real bad.
Yeah.
But I had this like community that I talk with on Twitter and for years and years. So I've been waiting for something to take its place. And I think Blue Sky's really doing that. And the game dev community, like I was skeeting is what we call it. Don't laugh. Like it's, you know.
I heard you and Jason talking about that. Yeah.
I'm trying to make it stick because, but I was posting about Veilguard, and somebody put me on a list of like people that really like Veilguard, and so if you want to follow people that are talking about Dragon Age Veilguard, you can just click one button and follow everyone on this list.
Oh, that's cool.
And people are like, I love this game too. Who are you romancing? And people are actually talking about it. I've seen they call it the pancake rule, you know, where you say, I like pancakes. And then somebody else is like, why do you hate waffles? Oh. And you're like, that's a completely different sentence. I said nothing about waffles. Like I haven't been seeing that. And one other thing that I really like about it, and I promise they're not paying me. One thing I like about it is that people are actively rejecting the toxicity that Twitter had, where because on Twitter you like quote dunk someone that's like, oh, look at this stupid asshole. Like people aren't doing that. There's a little bit of it, but it's like discouraged. And so it's just it's nice people talking about video games. Honestly, it's great. And I've built up a much bigger following than I ever had on Twitter. So I'm leaving Twitter behind. So Blue Sky. So yeah, come and join us.
I should check it out. Yeah, I'll have to do that.
One of us. So maybe by the time.
If nothing else, I could follow your podcast.
Yeah, I do tweet about the podcast a good bit. Yeah. And I asked for questions. I was like, I'm going to be talking to a hard surface artist. Is there anything somebody would like to know? And then people asked like thoughtful questions, and some of them I've like incorporated into the interview. Which
Very cool. That's awesome.
People are so nice. So maybe by the time this comes out, which will be a few weeks from now, look for Scott Smalley on Blue Sky. And where else can people find you if you want to?
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just on LinkedIn mostly. I guess I'm on Instagram and Facebook, but I'm not really active really. But if you find me, reach out. It's fine.
God, LinkedIn.
Yeah.
LinkedIn is.
I know.
LinkedIn is a whole thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I guess you have to be on it. So
yeah, you have to be, especially when you're like looking for jobs. Like I'm not actively looking for a new job right now, but I will be soon. And so I have to get better at the whole LinkedIn. So if somebody wants to hire me, go ahead, call me. We can talk. Just go around LinkedIn completely. Just call me. Is there anything that you'd like to promote?
No, not really. Honestly, no. I just want to, just say thanks for having me on the podcast. It's been a lot of fun. It's really cool.
Yeah, I thought we had a really good conversation, and I think that a lot of my my audience, which it's hard not to call them stupid little gamers because it's right there. Like the thing's called Stupid Little Games, but I don't want to insult people. But I think a lot of the listeners are super locked into game dev. So talking to people about like the actual technical things, it doesn't scare people off because they want to know about that type of stuff. So I'm going to try to get more into like, let's talk to specific technical folks about their job and let's get rid of some of the stigmas. Let's give advice for people that are trying to break into the industry at this really, really rough time right now, that people are trying to. I'm crossing my fingers that 2025 is just a little bit better for game dev. I mean,
light at the end of the tunnel, maybe. Hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, things that are getting put out right now are amazing, but making the games right now is just so hard. So hard. Also, the Game Awards, those nominees were just put out, and the Indie Game Award nominees were just put out. So I think I might do a special episode on the Game Awards and Indie Game Awards. So look out for that. Those happen in December.
That'd be awesome, yeah.
So you can follow me on Blue Sky at caketease.bsky.social. That's CAKETEASE. And again, cake tease is not something sexual. I used to be a cake decorator. On Instagram is at cake_tease because somebody had already taken cake tease. So it's just with an underscore. And I'm not even going to promote my Twitter anymore because fuck Twitter. I hate them. Twitter is the old busted and Blue Sky is the new hottest. So come on over to Blue Sky and we'll talk about video games without yelling at each other about woke nonsense. So thank you so much for listening to Stupid Little Games. Please follow and subscribe on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcasts. If you liked it, please consider giving us a review. It really helps us out a lot. We're still a new podcast, and we're trying to get into some algorithms so that people find it, other people that like game dev, tell your friends, all that type of stuff. And having reviews actually helps a whole lot, even if you just want to give a few stars or if you want to actually write something. It really does help. So I really appreciate that if anybody does it. This podcast is hosted and executive produced by me. I'm Jess Pardew. The logo and theme music is by the incomparable Bayard Russell. Audio engineering and editing are by Gabe Koski, a man who doesn't drink beer, but he does drink Worcestershire sauce. And we will see you next Tuesday. Goodbye.